Walking a path along the roots of Pikes Peak, you take a fork in the road to the Anselm Society Digital Pub. Inside is a raucous conversation on the arts, faith, in that book that you're going to slip into your bag right between your towel and that other book that you're probably not going to read. At a corner table by the fire are three people. One of them is thinking, well, I have to bring this one. After all, it's a Reese Witherspoon special or whatever that thing's called. And that's me, Matthew Mellema, and welcome to Believe to See, a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. Here at Believe to See, we explore the relationship between faith, art, and storytelling. Our goal is to help you connect the great story, the great stories, and our own stories in order to understand what it means to live with a Christian imagination. Now, as you know, listeners, summer is in full swing. At least, I think it will be when you all listen to this. I'm never quite sure how the recording schedule breaks down. It's late April here, but I'm thinking this will be like it. Anyway, regardless, every year, as summer is rolling around, there's bound to be some listicle or some morning show segment on this year's top beach reads. So we thought we'd join in on the fun. This episode is all about beach reads. But let's start with some definitions. Here's mine. A beach read, I'm doing air quotes, is a story that is fun and immersive, but not necessarily deep or literary. In other words, it's a story that you read primarily for fun. You know, like when you're sitting on the beach during vacation. And of course, this concept goes just beyond novels. It could also apply to movies, TV shows, or any other sort of story we interact with for fun. Now, don't worry, I have a list of my favorite beach reads all ready to go, and I get the feeling my co-host may have some recommendations too. But that's not the main thing we're going to talk about today. I also want to go big picture. How do we feel about beach reads as a concept? This is an especially important question for us at Believe to See. After all, as I just read in my intro, our goal is to help you connect the great story, the great stories, in our own story. How do beach reads fit into these great stories? Do they fit at all? Is it possible to be the sort of person who cares deeply about the great stories and who also enjoys a fun beach read? That is what we will be discussing today, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Mandy Hauk and Christina Brown. Hello, Mandy.
Hello.
Do you have your beach bag all packed?
I do.
Okay. Do you like the beach?
No.
No, I realized that about myself as well. I realized I like the idea of the beach,
yes.
But whenever I'm there, I'm like,
yeah.
I have sand everywhere. I'm hot. There's seagulls that are gross.
Right. Yeah. No, my favorite body of water is a creek.
Oh, that's a good one.
I like small, accessible, musical sounding, creeks and rivers, and then lakes, and then. I did live in Southern California for a while, and we would go to the beach, and it's just such a hassle. And then everything smells like beach.
It's all, the air is hot, and sand gets everywhere, and I don't know, oceans. How about you, Christina Brown? Do you like the beach?
Hello. I do, actually. I feel like there has to be a couple of... I don't like beach experiences. Like, if someone were to say, are you a beach person? Mm-hmm. I would have to say no. Because I associate with like crowded beaches, the smell of suntan lotion, bathing
seaweed,
suits, and like trash all over the beach and just like loud, sunbathers everywhere that you might trip over. So I feel like I'm not a beach person, but I feel that the beach calls my name. But that's like, Gothic sister sort of roam the cliffs of Dover sort of.
So far above. I'm down with that. Down with that.
A cliff above the ocean. She's wearing this long cloak that's blowing behind her in the breeze.
Yes, but no sand. Oh, girl.
That's hilarious. I do like the sand, but I like walking on the wetter part of the sand.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Now, I will say, I just realized I have to backtrack a little bit because my family used to go to St. Simon's Island, which is sort of like most people are familiar with the Outer Banks Islands in North Carolina, but Georgia also has little islands. And And that beach is just different. There's something about like the sand is softer, and probably it's just because I romanticize it because we used to go when I was little. But a very large portion of it is very wet sand, so it's easy to walk on it, and it's gorgeous. And it's cooler. It's not hot. Well, when we go. I mean, it's Georgia.
Beaches can be very different. You're not wrong.
Yeah, Atlantic beaches probably.
Well, even I think Mediterranean beaches.
But I'm just saying, like the beach I would want to go to is an Atlantic beach. That's where all the shells are and stuff. And I remember when we moved to California, I was like, where are all the shells? Because there are some, but it's mostly rocky on the Pacific. Beaches. Yeah, but anyway, so I edit that to say if you're talking specifically about the beach at St. Simon's Island in, I don't know, April or May, I'll go.
Okay, so if we have that particular beach, that particular time, it's a yes. Otherwise, it's a strong no.
Yeah.
Okay, so either way, we all seem like the sort of people who would bring a book to the beach. Is that y'all's practice?
Yeah, I bring a book to the baseball game. So yeah.
All right, so beach reads. Do you?
Also, I have to have like this lovely drink with my book on the beach. It has to be a whole situation where I'm pairing everything together.
There you go.
Oh, see, a cocktail.
A daiquiri or margarita.
Mai Tai.
Yeah, Mai Tai. Yep. Make sure you get your hydration, but
Yeah.
So this is all getting very complicated.
Yes.
But
so many conditions.
For us to enjoy the beach, it basically needs to be like indoors. But
no, it just has to be a private beach in a resort.
Private beach in a resort, no sand, no fish, gross. No salt in the water either. And also if they could have chlorine to kill all the. Basically, I just want a hotel pool.
Yeah, but they take the salt from the sea and put it in the spa, and that's of course okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
yes.
That's different.
All right, so let's talk about these books now.
Okay.
So. Are you a proponent of the beach read in the sense that like, hey, I'm going to get this will be a fun book to bring to the beach, or do you bring like serious works?
Well, it's funny because I was looking at like the top beach reads of all time, and I haven't read any of them. So I think I don't like I don't know because I haven't read them. I was thinking in preparation for the episode, I was trying to think of just books that I enjoy, but that aren't like, literary masterpieces or whatever. And I mean, I do like an occasional, like John Grisham. There's another author that's same background as him. He's a Southern lawyer turned author. He's actually a better writer than as far as more literary. So see, I just veered off beach read right there. Did it. Anyway, so I don't. Books that I read for enjoyment are probably still not defined as beach reads. I don't think.
So that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Mandy, because you, in just your reading taste, skew more literary naturally than like I would.
Yeah.
Like I read literary stuff, but I feel like I need to force myself to do it. I would naturally go to maybe some more like genre stuff. But you, as someone who like your inclinations are that way, are there any kind of genres that you go for?
Now, I will say, as far as literary, there's a spectrum of literary, and I'm on the low end of literary, I would say. But I like Ann Tyler. I've talked about her. That would probably qualify as my definition of a beach read. It's like women's fiction, I guess. She wrote, the most famous one she wrote was made into a movie, The Accidental Tourist. I told you guys about her because of breathing lessons. I mentioned that.
Yeah.
Now on 3 episodes. Anyway, but Accidental Tourist was made into a movie, so most people know her that way. So her, but I don't like this one year I was trying to read all the Pulitzer Prize winners, and I was like, bleh. I didn't like most of them because they're like, I don't like the ones that are very intentionally lofty, like where you feel like elitist feeling. So when I say I like literary fiction, it just means I like character driven, and sometimes that's heavier, like Jane Eyre, than like The Accidental Tourist. Because so all that to say, I would choose books like Ann Tyler that have a mixture of the literary, so the beautiful prose, but they're still, for the most part, lighthearted. They'll make you laugh every now and then, not necessarily going to make you cry.
No, I think that's a helpful way to describe it. So for you, if you're just going like, I'm just going to spend the afternoon, relaxing, I'm on vacation, you have this sort of, in that subgenre you described makes a lot of sense to me. It's literary in the sense that it's going to be, high quality prose, character driven, but the subject matter is maybe a little bit more lighthearted. Like it's not going to be somber, like disturbing. It's going to be maybe a little more whimsical than some other stuff could be.
And we all know I love a somber.
You are not averse to somber.
I am not.
But maybe not on vacation.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. How about you, Christina? What are your vacation reads?
That's a great question. I am one of those people who tends to think, vacation, I have time to read all the things that I'm trying to read at home and then just don't have time to do. And so then I end up bringing these thick tomes. I'm like, why did I bring this? It first of all, so heavy. It took space in my suitcase, and here I am. I'm not going to touch them.
Man, there's this scene in this TV show 30 Rock where there's this Page who's like, the little assistant at the office, and he finds out he's going to die soon. So he's like, oh, this is great. I get a chance to do all my dream chores.
Is that the guy from Wreck-It Ralph? We've talked about him before.
He's great.
I still need to see 30 Rock.
So that's like you, Christina. It's all right. I'm going to have free time. I get to read all these tough books that I didn't get a chance to read otherwise.
This is so revealing.
I'm liberated to read all the tough stuff.
This is such a personality test right here, that you look at vacation as a way to like achieve what you want to, like to fulfill goals, lofty goals.
Time to finally get through Plato's Republic. Here we go.
War and Peace, I'm taking you down.
Les Miserables in the original French. I don't even know French, but I have a dictionary. Here we go. All right. So that is interesting. So your vacation time, you try to get ahead on like maybe some of the more serious reading. Do you ever set aside time for the lighter stuff, like the fun stuff?
That's a good question. So I also would say, on my vacation time, I also pack too many books. Because I do anticipate, like, oh, Christina, time, you might not have this time. You might be in the mood for this, you might be in the mood for this. And all of these you are very behind on. So clearly, any of them is going to make you happy if you make progress on them.
Right.
So I do have to be careful with that. So you're actually asking this at a very funny time, Matthew, because I read a book that I thought was going to be a light read and an engaging one, and I was kind of excited, and I was like, I haven't read one of these in a while, and of course it was while Brian was traveling overseas, and wouldn't you know, the book wrecked me.
Oh no.
What I thought was going to be a light read was one of the heaviest
Okay, I'm going to need
stories
you to
of all
recommend this,
time.
because that's my jam.
That's a story for another day.
Okay.
It wrecked me emotionally completely. Mandy's like, ooh, tell me.
Yes.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
All right, so
Reading is therapy, people, okay?
It is, but here's the thing, because sometimes you need therapy after what you read.
It's true. And I will say I do alternate. If I read a book that wrecks me, I'm probably going to read some like short stories and humor and
satire
stuff.
type stuff.
So, yeah.
So let's go to the types of books you would read that you would characterize as more light or more fun. Sure. Is there a particular genre? Like Mandy was like, okay, we have sort of literary, character-driven, but maybe a lighter premise.
Great.
Do you have something similar to that, a go-to?
I would say I probably would. I do love a really good happy ending romance novel, but I say romance novel, I don't mean romance genre. That's the thing, is like I don't know where to find those that aren't like in the romance genre, which I do not appreciate.
A romantic book that's not a quote-unquote romance.
Yeah, novel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tricky. That's why I can't categorize it. But if someone were to say, this is a beautiful, romantic, happy ending love story, go to the beach and read it, I'd be like, awesome, let's do this. So that would be like a top choice for me.
Hey, Jane Eyre is a happy ending.
Don't even.
I mean, you have to.
His wife dies in a fire, and it's great. It's so great. Everyone's so much happier.
They are by the end.
All right, so that's good. We have these two different categories here. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say the other thing that I would totally do would be a good fantasy. I think it could be a great way to sort of get out of my world and into a deep otherworldly place while on vacation. It would be a great diving somewhere else.
You know what I just realized? I also really like memoir. Memoir to me is a light read.
Interesting.
Because depending on the memoir, but because then it feels conversational to me, so it's very relaxing to read memoir. Carol Burnett's memoir, stellar. And I mean, it's funny because it's Carol.
Yeah, she's pretty funny.
There you go. Okay, so now for mine, I have very clear go-tos in terms of books. I go to detective fiction, and which is no surprise. I talk about that all the time. But here's the one where I'm kind of admitting to something here.
Oh.
I told that Reese Witherspoon, Reese book club joke.
Did.
I kind of read those sometimes.
You know what? Those fall into kind of what I'm talking about, where they're still character driven. Reese and Oprah both do love character driven.
So I feel like all of these books, they're all the same. It's always the protagonist is a woman who's between 28 and 35. She leaves her old town because of some past trauma. She goes back to uncover the mystery and maybe make out with the hot guy that she was with.
Hallmark.
Dark Hallmark. And I keep coming back to them, even though the percentage of them that I ended was that was a good book. It's 0.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I always read them, and I don't know why. Christina.
No, I was just gonna say I don't actually know that I've heard that term before. So can you just describe what you mean when you say Reese Witherspoon reads?
Do you know who Reese Witherspoon is?
No, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
She has a recommendation so this is a pet peeve of mine because there is an author, Celeste Ng, who I love, and Reese can go dark. Her books can be wreckers. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng was a Reese Witherspoon, but so she just has a book list and it's sort of like Oprah's book club, but it's Reese.
Okay.
Yeah, but here's a pet peeve of mine. I think we've talked about the book covers. A couple of book cover pet peeves. One is when they change the book cover to the movie poster because they made it into a movie.
That's always sad.
I get really aggravated. But also, if I order a book and it comes and then it's got that Oprah stamp or the Reese stamp on the front, I get so irritated because if I'm reading it on an airplane, this is me. I'm being very transparent here. I'm a snob. I don't want people to think I'm just reading it because Reese and Oprah told me to.
That is hilarious.
Yes, I found out about it from Reese and Oprah, but I would have read it regardless.
I would have read it anyway.
She can't read it on a public beach.
I can't read it on. See, I have to have a private beach, or I have to be on the cliff because I don't want them to see this. Why can't it just be a sticker? Why is it part of the?
Oh man,
so annoying.
So for that genre, I kind of categorize them as thriller. They're kind of like women's thriller. I'm comfortable with my masculinity. It's
women,
okay.
It's women in some
solving some sort of mystery. Okay. This dark past.
Yeah, and very often it has to do with them and their past. Therapy. It's women having to deal with stuff.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. My best friend disappeared in high school, and now 10 years later, I need to fix it or whatever.
I will say, Little Fires Everywhere is excellent.
That does follow your detective story.
They are.
That's true because there's a mystery.
They are detective adjacent.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay. So in
puzzles.
They're puzzles. I always buy them. I always get them because of the concept, right?
Well, Little Fires isn't a puzzle, but maybe that was one of her first picks.
Yeah, that's not quite my jam right there. So I like the corner of Reese. That's sort of the detective story adjacent thrillers. So a couple authors who write, the one I was actually just putting together the list here, and I'm going through the books in this category that I've read, and I've learned a lot about myself. Okay. Apparently I like Megan Miranda. Okay. Because I read 4 of her books, and they all got a pretty good rating from me. Okay. Let's see. Ruth Ware was fine.
Oh, I've heard of Ruth Ware.
I have too, yeah.
Yeah, she wrote something called One by One. It was pretty good.
I also heard that, but I haven't read
Yeah. Sophie Hannah is interesting. She writes detective fiction and these thrillers.
Okay, I've heard of Kristen
I love her detective fiction. Her detective thrillers, I've read 3. There was 1 pretty good and 2, I have a complex rating system. But anyway, the point is, these are the books I am drawn to when I want to read something for fun.
Okay.
Detectives or thrillers or just sort of...
Or angsty middle-aged women.
They incidentally involve angsty middle-aged women. But usually it's like a premise, it's a puzzle that I want to solve, right?
Yeah.
That's what I am drawn to.
That
So
makes sense.
let's talk about the times when we do find ourselves gravitate toward these. We talked about vacation. That's a classic one. But I was really thinking about when I'm drawn to these stories. It's actually quite a few situations. I go to these when I'm sick. So when I'm laying in bed recovering, I'm not going to read anything, heavy and literary. I'm going to go to one of these.
Right.
When I'm just feeling stressed for whatever reason, I sometimes will leave my usual more challenging reading and go to these.
You won't take your tomes with you like Christina Brown.
I will not bring my tomes when I'm feeling stressed. Or other situations, it's nice because I like connecting with someone else about it. Like in the context of movies, there's some movies that I'll watch because I know my kids like it, or shows that me and Danielle will watch together, like detective shows, and we'll guess who the person is. So there's different instances where I am drawn to these. I'm wondering if, Mandy, you feel similar. There's like certain times, certain moods, certain situations, I go to these sorts of stories.
Yeah, if I'm in a season where I'm scattered and I'm having a hard time focusing because I have several things going on at once, which since I freelance and work for myself, I don't have a very consistent schedule. And so, like I would say, let's just say it's around Christmas time, so I'm already busy because Christmas, and then, whatever volunteer work I'm doing has extra stuff to do, and then maybe a client has sent me a book, and so if my brain just feels kind of fried, then I'm going to go to a book that my brain can just relax and not feel the need to rise to the occasion and be as smart as the book.
Yes. Yes. There's sometimes when you feel up to Dostoevsky, and sometimes you're like,
Right.
Worcester and Jeeves today.
Right. And so I would say also...
Jeeves and Worcester, Matt.
Oh, thank you.
I missed the whole thing. I would say airplanes. Don't you guys think? I want a beach type read on an airplane because I need to be able to read it and be distracted by the pilot who won't shut up about what altitude we're at, and I don't know who actually cares other than my husband, because he was an aerospace engineer. I don't even think he cares about that, honestly. But oh my gosh. So yeah, I want to be in a book where I'm not going to cry in public.
Yes.
Note to self: really should not have read Book Thief.
Oh,
while
goodness.
traveling. It was really.
Yes.
I think everyone on the plane was worried about me. It was beautiful book, but
And horribly, it's
like
tearjerker.
snort crying.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally. Anyway, they really failed in the movie, but that's okay. But airplane is where I would read it.
I think that's a good place
beach
for it.
read, quote unquote.
I always, when I'm on airplanes, I intend to get like important work done.
Right.
But when I'm in the situations, like, I just need to get through this. How do I get through
Usually
this?
What I will do is I will take a book that I have been trying to read and I have not been able to get into it either for schedule or because maybe the beginning is slow, but I still trust it because enough people. And that's exactly what happened with Book Thief, because the format of Book Thief is very unique. And so I had a hard time getting into it, but enough people I knew and respected had loved it, so I knew I wanted to read it. So I forced myself. And so I do bring too many books on vacation, but I always only have one in my bag in my carry-on. And so that I forced myself that was how I forced myself to get into Book Thief, and then it went downhill.
Yeah, because it was a
Then,
bad call.
then it turned into snort crying. How about you, Christina? What situations do you find yourself more gravitate toward, like, I just need something light?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, partly that situation that I was just telling you guys about when I was, home single parenting while Brian was across the country for a week.
And you chose the wrong thing.
But in my head, I thought, okay, it's gonna be extra stressful. Gonna be some extra loads I'm trying to carry mentally, emotionally, literally, physically, and I want to read something distracting. And it was distracting. So not in the ways I hope.
Can you say what book it was?
No. I'll
Okay.
talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later.
Oh my. That's just going to get the listeners more
know.
interested.
It's true. Sorry, listeners.
Really briefly, I want to start talking about the value of these stories. Before we do that, we've been talking about novels, but again, this could apply to different forms as well.
Right.
I'm thinking especially of like movies and TV shows. Mandy, are there any like movies or TV shows that serve a similar function? It's like you watch them, it's like I'm not going to be challenged or anything. I just need something light.
Yeah, I would say typically it's network TV. Like Will Trent is a show that it's funny because it's on. It's a current network show right now that Peter and I watch, and we actually hate like two of the actors on it, and we're like, but it's still fun because you don't really have to think that much. Trash TV. There's a place for trash TV, and it's really funny because I like reality TV. I get very snotty about I'm very proud of myself for the ones I don't watch, like I'm better. But I do watch Love is Blind. Let me tell you, I'm down with Love is Blind. So that kind of thing.
Those are both very good examples. Just sort of the Will Trent, the sort of predictable procedural. It's like you know the formula every time, and then the reality TV.
Yeah, and I can fold laundry.
So exactly, that's what I was going to ask you. What parts of your day do you fit that into?
Either I'm too tired to really handle anything like that, and then I end up falling asleep on the couch, and then we have to watch it the next day because Peter goes, are you awake? Yeah, I'm totally awake. Okay, what just happened? I don't know. So that stuff that I won't mind falling asleep to because it's not gonna.
So it's end of the day. Maybe it's background while you're doing something else.
Or background while I'm doing something else.
Okay. How about you, Christina?
Yeah, I mean, as far as TV shows, I do love good storylines. Like it's hard for me to get into like really light, like Price is Right type stuff. I can't do quite that much. I used to do House Hunters, but they just got so formulaic, and I'm just like, I can't anymore. However, I do love good fashion like shows, or like Project Runway, or there's a body painting one. That's just like totally art stuff up my alley. So I feel like even though it's formulaic, there's enough creativity each time through that I'm just engaged enough that I just want to sit and immerse myself in someone else's creativity, right?
Yeah.
What line of apparel did you create, and like what paint creature did you paint? Like, just like cool stuff like that. So I think for me it's that. So I'm not like emotionally invested, but I'm also very intrigued.
That there was a really cool glass blowing.
I love that one. Blown Away.
Oh my God.
I really feel like they should have spent more than 20 seconds on the title, but still, I enjoy.
I like the title. Yeah.
I love watching glass blowing. It just looks so soothing to watch it. Those big molten drops. Yeah.
My mom used to live next door to a guy who studied with Chihuly. And so I have
Chihuly.
I don't have Chihuly.
I love Chihuly.
I have some of his apprentices' glass. I'll show you guys later. And I also love cooking shows. Like,
yes, that's true.
But I'm picky about which ones I like. There's one on Food Network right now that I'm not going to remember the name of, but they do it like poker. And it's Wild Card Kitchen. I just remembered, thank goodness. And it's really fun. And they actually bet money. They act like it's their money. I doubt it. But I really like watching the cooking shows because I love cooking and I get ideas.
Yeah.
So, Christina, you mentioned your sort of light stuff. When do you watch that? What parts of your day does that sort of go into?
Usually it's the end of day for me. Just very much. It's something I like to do by myself, so that's actually kind of a weird thing too. It's like, first of all, Brian doesn't really like it, but it's also really fun to just have something like, I'm going to get out my little special bar of chocolate. I'm going to pour myself my little glass of whiskey or wine. I'm going to get out the iPad and cuddle up on this armchair, and while Brian does his thing, and I'm just going to watch my show.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like this little enclosure.
It's like your little treat at the end of the day. You had a busy day, everything's all done. You just do this.
Yeah, it's like a comfort blanket. Yep.
I listeners, please know I was doing like a covering yourself with a blanket motion.
Yeah.
It worked seamlessly, but
it did. It was
for those in the room.
I am very similar to you with that, Christina, where I have my shows that it's usually because, you get the kids to bed and then you do the dishes, all that stuff. Then I have like I have a very important Instagram video to edit, right? And then by the time that's done, it's like my brain's all fried. I want to watch my silly show. So it's usually like I watch The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers. Danielle hates both of those shows, so I just have them on. Every now and then I'll laugh hysterically, and Danielle looks at me like, what have I done to bring me to this point?
Well, and it's really good to that's when I pull out the rewatch if I'm really stressed out.
You have certain shows for the sitcoms, like for me it's like The Office, Parks and Rec. They're like a comfort blanket.
Yeah, Parks and Rec. For
you
sure.
know all the lines.
Gilmore Girls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so is a beach read a reread? That's another question. Because they're talking about some rewatches for stress.
Ooh.
Yeah. But so now I'm kind of thinking I would consider a beach read not a reread.
No, I'm not. I don't do a whole lot of rereading.
I don't either in general. But I'm just wondering.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I'm wondering if we would categorize beach reads in general as
that is a good. I would say broadly yes,
really?
because
I say broadly no. That's funny.
I think the point is you're gonna read something or consume this story for fun. And if part of the fun is I know exactly how this book ends, I think that can be part of it. That's not always part of it because for my detective books, the best thing is if you're reading one for the first time, you don't know what's happening, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I typically am only going to reread a book if it's something that I want to, a world I want to go back to. So it's usually East of Eden is what I'm thinking of right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back into that book, and I also just want to figure out how the heck John Steinbeck does that magic. So typically that's the total opposite of a beach read for me. If I'm going to reread it, it's going to be something really, really deep.
So I have one note along these lines before we get to the big picture. The other purpose that I will have for these sort of light stuff is to just basically have on in the background as I'm doing something else. Or I think you both mentioned that as well. Yeah. But the funniest is me and Danielle, for whatever reason, we're on Discovery Plus, right? So we're on that streaming platform. There's two shows there's a show that Danielle watches, there's a show that I've been watching. The show that Danielle watched is called The Established Home, which is about cooking or I don't know what it is. It's one of those shows. It's a Danielle show. The show that I watch is called Alaskan Killer Bigfoot. And I was just I really pity the Discovery Plus algorithm trying to synthesize this and what does this person want with The Established Home and Alaskan Killer Bigfoot? But amazing. That is a show I have on in the background as I'm doing other stuff.
Listeners, I laughed so hard because Matt is such a Bigfoot person. And it came as...
I was scrolling through one day, I was like, ooh, okay, I'm listening.
Okay, but can 100 men take down Killer Bigfoot?
Not a Bigfoot. Maybe a gorilla, not a Bigfoot. But so let's then go to the purpose of the beach read, right?
Yeah.
And we've sort of hinted at this already, where all of us, we are all the sort of people who believe it's important to read good books, to read the classics, to read things that have literary merit.
Enrichment.
Exactly. We all believe that. Let's say there's somebody listening who believes that and takes a step further. It's you should read only that. Why would you read this fluff with the precious finite amount of time you have instead of just reading all the great books? Mm-hmm. What would be your response to that, Mandy?
Oh, come on. No. I'm just kidding. No, I think I used to be there. And yes, every now and then I'll be oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to read all the books I want to read. Eventually it's going to be, yeah. But I don't know. I think we have to give our hearts space to the heart wants what the heart wants, And I mean, I was gonna, as you were saying that, I was thinking junk food as a parallel, but I don't think that's a good parallel because junk food we really shouldn't eat that, blah. But we do. And so my point is, I don't think that's a fair parallel because you can say, no, you should never eat Doritos. You really shouldn't.
Well.
But I'm gonna anyway. But I think lighthearted reads or reading for entertainment has more value. I don't think it's parallel to eating Doritos. I do think it has value because God created us for laughter and lightheartedness, and that's a legitimate need, is to relax. And we don't have to be intellectual and important all the time.
That's a good point.
Just like 80% of the time. No, I'm kidding.
80-20 principle.
80-20.
But I will take that point you made about junk food, Mandy, that you're like, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go there. Because I think it's a decent parallel. It's not to the same extent like you mentioned, Mandy.
Yeah.
But I think some people with things like junk food get it in their heads that they can never eat anything unhealthy ever.
Right.
And that can create kind of weird situations.
Yeah.
So let me give you a couple stories here. One of them, it's an anecdote I heard about LeBron James. For the non-sports people, arguably the greatest basketball player ever. Me and Mandy won't open that up, but he's right up there. But he famously spends like $1 million a year on his body, like literally. He has his own private chef. He has his own private dietitian. He has his own personal trainer. He works relentlessly on his body. He cares so much about it, which is why at age 40, he's still one of the best players in the NBA. So in that context, there's this person, LeBron James, who works so hard on it. He has one thing that he really enjoys. There's a particular brand of chocolate chip cookie that he likes. So sometimes on road trips, he would bring these cookies, and after a game, he would have some. At one point, he was playing for the Miami Heat, and some very officious person on the Heat thought, we can't have this junk food. So they took away the cookies of the greatest basketball player on the planet. LeBron was justifiably upset about it. And a couple years later, he left the Miami Heat.
Is that why?
My saying it's because of the cookies, I'm not saying it. But the point is,
too many nots.
when you're in a situation, LeBron's an extreme example, but where you take such good care of your body, you can have a chocolate chip cookie every now and then.
Yeah.
And having the attitude where you can't have it is actually kind of weird and off-putting.
Yes.
Another anecdote, because I just found this hilarious. So a lady at our church, for a while she worked is like in like the administrative staff at this school in town. I will not say the name of the school, but if you live in town, you'll know what school it is. It's notorious for a lot of very wealthy people, right? And at one point, one of the parents was in the office and talking to their kid, and Halloween was coming up. And the kid, being a kid, was like, hey, when we get all this candy at Halloween, can I eat some of it? And the mom says, no, you're not going to eat this candy. It's poison. Oh. We're not going to eat it. We're going to donate it to the poor people.
There's so many levels of wrong.
And like she catches herself and it's like, oh. It's like, okay, well, we don't have time on the podcast to break down all of that. But let's start with one thing. Besides you admitting to essentially in your mind giving poor people poison, candy is not poison.
No.
Candy's not good for you. You shouldn't have too much of it. But if a kid goes trick-or-treating, they can have some candy. Yes. It's fine.
Right.
I think the long-term damage you're doing to your kid by saying candy is poison, give it to the poor people, is probably worse than letting your kid have a Snickers bar.
Yes.
So I think we can have something very similar with literature. If we get the idea, we only read the great books. If you're not reading a great book, don't read. Well, then in effect, you're telling a lot of kids or other people, if you don't enjoy this big, difficult work, just don't read, you know? Right. I would much rather have, my kids or like teenagers or other people read one of these beach reads, get acclimated to reading, get involved in a story, maybe pick up a thing or two about literature, even if it's light or fair, than having it in their head that they can only read the heavy stuff or else why bother?
Yeah, I really think and having been a teacher, I homeschooled my girls, and I also was an English teacher, and it's always more important to foster a love of reading regardless of what they're reading. Mm-hmm. And so my girls read below their reading level. I didn't, if they wanted to read Junie B. Jones, I didn't tell them they couldn't, even though they were way above. Like reading should be, when you're reading, you should be enjoying yourself. And whether it's intellectually, spiritually, or just because you're laughing. Like, it shouldn't be that serious.
I mean, C.S. Lewis agreed,
Yeah.
Yeah, he said if you don't like a book, stop forcing yourself to get through it.
Yeah.
Read something else.
Mm-hmm.
So he would agree. So there you go. Good job.
Yeah.
No, I think, Matt, that's a great point in the sense of, the school my kids and your kids go to has been, like, remember when my daughter went to kindergarten and she didn't know how to read yet, the thing they would constantly tell the parents was, we really don't care. We want, like, reading time for 20 minutes a day is, like, homework. And it doesn't have to be reading. Like, it can be you reading to them. It can be them flipping through a picture book. Whatever it is that gets them encountering reading, encountering books, encountering literature. And I think that's kind of, to your point, I think that's a great thing because as storied people, we need that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a gateway, like you said. You said it? One of you said it. Yeah, a gateway. A gateway, guys.
Wow. I don't think we said it.
Oh, really? I don't think I said. I'll take credit for it. You're welcome.
I'll give that to Matt.
So that is one. So that is one aspect of the benefits of having an occasional beach read. I think another thing is it helps. I think it's good armor against even accidentally developing a snobbish attitude.
Yeah.
This attitude where if it's not the finest, I won't do it. That book is beneath me. I think you can really see that attitude come out a lot. You will see that with, things like books. Like there's this distinction that I hate between what's called highbrow and middlebrow, where, basically it's people who consider themselves highbrow denigrating books that are merely good, but they lack some sort of trendy avant-garde-ishness. I don't like that attitude at all, because you should not read a book because you think it's trendy or sophisticated.
It shouldn't be
You should read a book because it's good. And I don't care where it falls on that highbrow, lowbrow, middlebrow spectrum. Like, I really don't care. And I think one of the ways to vaccinate yourself against that attitude is to occasionally read something that is lightweight and you just read it because you like it.
Well, yeah, and I think that for some reason that reminded me of, like, I always bristle when people talk about, like, one of the reasons I don't watch home show, like House Hunters and stuff like that, is the language they use is like, ooh, impress your friends. Like, ooh, this will impress my family, whatever.
Oh, really?
And so like the and like
it's been a while, clearly.
Well, and also like the magazines, like Better Homes and Gardens and all those things. Just the language in them so often is ooh, impress, blah blah blah, and so I feel like that is kind of what you were describing, like people who want to read highbrow. Like, are you reading it to prove that you're, better than people, or are you I don't think that makes you better. That makes you sad because you're not enjoying your reading life. And I will say, for a long time, I used to hide the fact that I am obsessed with 20th century American literature. That is my niche. I love 20th century American literature. And so I am far less versed in British literature, particularly 19th century and farther back, than a lot of other people. And I used to try to hide that. And then I'm like, why though? Like, I shouldn't be embarrassed of that. It's just what I enjoy. And I mean, I love Jane Austen. I love Charlotte Bronte. Oh my gosh. But I gravitate toward like Steinbeck and Faulkner and Flannery O'Connor. That's not less.
Yeah, and that I think touches on a couple points that we discussed on prior episodes. One of them, we had our episode about art that's cool to hate.
Yes.
And one of the things we kind of landed on is this is usually a sign that the art is liked by, quote unquote, the wrong sort of people.
Yes, common.
Like, yeah, exactly. It's too common for me. Well, that's a very bad attitude to have.
100%.
And related to that, we had our debate about The Great Gatsby versus To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes.
And a common thing we both brought up with our books was
Battle of the Books.
Exactly, Battle of the Books
Coming soon.
was both of them have gotten a bad rap because every high school English teacher makes their students read them. Because they're so out there, because every teenager's read them, there's this perception that they're less good, right? They're less great. And that's actually hurt both of the books' reputation in a weird way. Yeah. And it's the same sort of thing. It's like, well, who cares if a lot of teenagers have read it? It's still a great book. Yes. Or who cares if the wrong sort of people like this band? I like the band. or like, who cares if this sort of book is considered a beach read? I enjoy reading it every now and then. Like that should be our attitude. We shouldn't care so much about other people's perception of how sophisticated we are.
Yeah.
Can we go back to though, like the, to the other side of this question that you posed, because I think that's a really good point. Is in the sense of talking in the sense
Talking is hard.
talking
It's okay.
is hard. In the sense of not caring what people think of you, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And I'm laughing because I'm now thinking about the Oprah sticker on the books that you
I
talked about.
You nailed me. I was hoping listeners wouldn't draw that line.
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Just own it next time. That person next to you on the plane, I bought this because Oprah told me to.
I will not.
Okay. So, but the other part is like the conscientious people, right? Like, so not the highbrow people who are like, oh, why are you wasting your time? But the conscientious people who are like, ought I, like, is it responsible, right? This life is short. I have a responsibility, and as Christians, we think, responsibility to live a godly life, to live in love with my neighbor. And if I'm not doing things to enrich my life with God and with others and the people around me and my family, am I being responsible? And I think that's a really interesting and good question to ask, and I would love for us to discuss it around like beach reads. Like, how does that apply, and does it?
No, I think that's a really good point, and that's sort of the other side of the coin. Like, if the dark side of the coin is snobbishness, the light side of the coin is, shouldn't I use my limited time to consume only the best stuff, right? Like, that comes from a good place.
Challenge yourself.
Exactly.
You want to challenge
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I only have a limited amount of time on the earth. Shouldn't I use that limited time only on the best stuff, right? So I do think there is something to that, and I do think we should all make an effort to, interact with the best stuff. Again, all three of us are coming from a place where we make a conscious effort to do that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, there are times when I will think, okay, here we go. Back into the breach. Gonna read some more Cormac McCarthy Blood Meridian, some more Slaughter. But just because I know I need to interact with books like that every now and then.
Right.
But I do still think there is a place in that view to occasionally have something just for fun. Again, if you're LeBron James, you already eat very healthy, you already take really good care of your body. Not only is it not harmful to have a chocolate chip cookie, but if you get to the attitude where I can never ever have it, that can backfire, right? People need to have a break. You need to have rest. You need to have fun. Like, for a lot of diets, they'll have a quote-unquote cheat day. Right. And that's actually an important thing, showing you can still have this food in moderation.
Well, and that is where I would say that's where the analogy for me falls apart a little, even though I totally agree with what you're saying with that. But I think even not everything you read is going to not be junk food. There's some stuff that really has probably no intrinsic value. Right. But I think some of the stuff we're talking about, just the fact like your school has the kids interact with literature, that has value. That has intrinsic value, where like Doritos don't have intrinsic nutritional value, but it is okay to eat them, and yes, there won't be backfiring. But story in and of itself it feeds our souls. So even if it's a silly or, not serious story, and it's not going to like change your life or change the way you think about another person, and it just engaging in story, because it does, I think engaging in story inherently gives us empathy. Yeah. Every story we engage with trains us in empathy, whether it's a lighthearted or a serious story. And so that's the little part where the junk food analogy breaks down. But I still agree with your overall point about we need to like give ourselves a break and just read to enjoy in the same way that we eat Doritos to enjoy. And now I want Doritos, and I don't have any.
No, I'm glad you said that, because I think that's a good nuance to put on my my junk food analogy, because like you said, even some of these books that, I'll be talking about some of these in my recommendations. I was going through some of the books I read recently. Some of them I was like, oh, I had a lot of fun reading that, but oh, that book's too good. I can't include that in fun reads. But even a lot of these books that are quote unquote fun or light, well, let's be real. The people writing these are very talented writers. They worked hard at them. Yeah. A lot of the prose is actually quite good. Some of the story arcs and character elements there are quite good. Are they at the same level as Dostoevsky? No, but they can still be quite good, and they can be enriching in that way.
Well, I would say we've talked about Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. That's a literary novel, but I would that is my jam. That is that's my niche right there.
That's interesting. That was a really good book, by the way.
It was I know, we talked about that. So good. And it's serious and it's heartbreaking. It made me cry. Loved it. But it's also really funny, and it doesn't make you think too hard, and
which is so nice sometimes for real.
Yeah.
I have a thought too, and it's actually lucky that I just happened to be listening to this lecture today by Dr. Wes, I think, Vanderloot.
Oh, yes.
Did you go to that lecture?
I did go to that lecture.
Okay, that's
it was
very
amazing.
Cool.
Beauty is Oxygen.
Yeah, yes. So Beauty is Oxygen is Dr. Wes Vanderloot. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Dr. Wes Vanderloot's book. I have not read the book. It seems amazing.
Yes.
But he gave a talk at the Ensemble Society a month or so ago about gritty hope. And he was talking about, hope in art and how, ought we create art with the intention of portraying hope, and how does all that work? And he went into some of the more modern criticisms of people saying art ought not to have a telos of passing on hope and all the things. Anyway, so he was going through some really well argued things, and as I was listening to the Q&A on the lecture this morning, one of the gals asked a question, and she said, I agree with what you're saying. And I think there is a sentimentalist art, kind of like, a lot of people argue, Thomas Kincaid was. And there's a point where people are just trying to make a point and ignore all the art, the hardness and the suffering. But what about people who just want to paint that pretty bird, And I think of Hobby Lobby prints, right? A lot of those really pretty, just this means nothing, it says nothing, it's an image of a trail, how lovely, it's an image of a bird. But she's so she said, does that mean that art doesn't, we shouldn't enjoy it, we ought not consume it, we ought not, does it not do anything for the kingdom, that sort of thing? Is it sentimentalist?
I remember that question. Yes. I knew exactly what you were going to
Yeah, exactly. That's so cool. And to his credit, I love what he said. And I think it kind of applies to these beach reads, which is why I was thinking about it. He said, first of all, he's great question. He said, actually, what I think is that not every artist, and here I would translate not every author, so not every artist can share all of the truth and all of the beauty and all of the perspective on God and the world all at once.
Right.
So you need to, and it's good to approach all these different ways of art and reading and stories, and to actually take them all as a whole, and not to just only look at this. I only accept art that shows suffering. I only accept art that makes me happy. I only accept,
Right.
So anyway, it was a really interesting point, and I thought about it in regards to this podcast episode. It's you do kind of need to see the different perspectives of the world, of the story, of the kingdom, of the people in it, of the experiences they have, right? So I don't know. I think that's an argument in general for reading a wide variety of things, but also I think it could be a good argument for certain beach reads. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point as well. And I think that's a good place to sort of draw the big picture part of the discussion to a close, that not every work of art has to do everything, and the way to get as close to the full breadth as you can is to read and consume a lot of different stories. Sometimes that means very serious literature. Sometimes that might mean more light stuff. That the key, as in lots of areas of life, is a healthy balance. And that can be different things for different people, but I think it's something we should all try to show at least some intentionality about. So now, before we go, I thought it'd be fun if we gave some sort of beach recommendations. So just some books, some stories, TV shows, whatever that we think are carries out what we've been talking about here. They're fun. They can still be well crafted. We don't need to exclude something because it's too good, but something that is primarily fun and that you really enjoyed going through. I will start, and this is a series that I found very fascinating because, listeners, I've told y'all I love detective fiction. The best thing is if a story just grabs me so much that I forget my usual reading rotation. I try to read like a little bit of my literary book and a little bit of like a nonfiction book each day. Sometimes I'll get so hooked, it's like, I just need to get through this. I'm hooked. One of the authors who's done this, her name is Janice Hallett, Hallett. I've read 3 of her books, The Examiner, The Appeal, and The Christmas Appeal. So they're all mysteries. I would call they're broadly cozy murder, so someone gets killed, but we're not too shook up about it. But the thing I love about it is the way she organizes her stories. There's no overarching narrative. It's told through the perspective of several different people through their emails and text messages.
Oh, wow.
So you'll see the people communicating with each other, like me and Mandy texting with Christina, then like me and Mandy texting just ourselves, and or then Christina and Matt and Mandy and Christina's being all talking smack about me because I'm not there, and that's how they tell the story. She does it so well. It's so interesting. I had a blast reading all of them. And then the other ones, again, I apparently like Megan Miranda for the middle-aged woman solves a mystery of her traumatic past stories. I've read 4 of her books, and I rated them all as pretty good. And again, really good premise. I think she does well. Finally, author named Lucy Foley. She writes detective fiction, but she also plays a lot with the structure and does so in a way that I thought was very fun. She was recommended to me by our very own Sarah Pottinger, our local detective fiction expert. So you cannot go wrong with that. I could go on, but those are 3 that have stood out recently. Mandy, what are some good beach reads that you would say?
Well, I already mentioned one, Eleanor Oliphant is
Yes.
completely fine. So we've talked about
Cosign.
that before. It's a first person, spoiler, she's not fine. You probably guessed that. I think the reason it's so engaging and feels so comfortable is because the narrative voice is so real.
Yes.
And you just adore her from the get-go, and you just want to help her be more fine. And it's funny and just delightful. I would say I've read all of Ann Tyler's books, but the one that pops into my mind when I think of the most humorous, she always has a dry humor in her books, but one of the ones I really liked, and her titles are so great, this one was called Back When We Were Grown-Ups, and from the very beginning, it's one of the best first lines, which I'm not going to remember right now, so sorry, but it was something about it's first person again, I think, or no, it's third person limited, but she says something about she realized that she turned into the wrong person. So it's this middle-aged woman, your favorite, Matt.
There you go. Does she have a dark past? Her best friend disappeared?
You don't even know. No. But she's basically looking around at her children and grandchildren, and she's like, wait a minute. I became the wrong person. And so then it flashes back, and then you get to see her whole life, and it's delightful. And if you haven't read Ann Tyler, she's just a very comfortable voice, and yeah. And then I would say the other one, my phone died and it's not recognizing my face. Hold on, I'm trying to look at my notes. Oh, another one that was really fun that Bethany actually recommended to me, and it was turned into a series. Daisy Jones and the Six. I thought of that while you were talking, because you were talking about the format being different for the one with the emails. So Daisy Jones and the Six is written as if it's the transcript from an interview. And it's based very loosely on the band Fleetwood Mac. Most people know that the two, Stevie Nicks and Lindsay Fleetwood, were together. If you did not know that, oh man, Fleetwood Mac, man. They were together and then they were apart and then they were together. So a lot of their songs were songs that one of them wrote about the other.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
And then, but they performed them together.
Oh my.
I highly recommend Googling Silver Springs because she wrote it about him and she's like singing it at him, and it is one of the most amazing videos, but I digress. Anyway, Daisy Jones and the Six is written as if it's an interview with each, in preparation to make a documentary. So there's an interview with each band member. And so it reads super fast. So there's no description or anything at all, which sounds off-putting at first, but it's really well written. And what's interesting with that is you end up getting person A's perspective and then person B's perspective on the exact same thing. Because the interview's asking each band member and interviewing them separately. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I think I read it in like 2 sittings. I mean,
Oh, nice.
and it's, just, so it's a really fast, if you bring it on an airplane, you should bring another book too, because you're going to zoom through it.
Unless you're me and you're extremely slow reader.
Yeah. So that's another one I would say. And that's probably the most beach ready book I've mentioned today.
It's
Look
funny
at-
because I was going to say with beach reads, like one of the categories, or I should say categories, one of the words, qualities that I think they need to be is you can get through them quickly. Like you don't have to labor through them. They're not super long. You can basically take them on vacation.
They're breezy.
Yeah.
Breezy,
Take them on
exactly.
vacation and read them and finish them and be like, how nice.
That is Daisy Jones and the Six for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. How about you, Christina?
Yeah. Okay. I had a couple. Again, I wouldn't say these were like my favorite books, but I think they do fill this category. So I'm going to just tell the listeners, and they can decide whether or not they want them to be their favorite books. I would say honestly, I liked Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore.
You have mentioned that before.
Yeah,
I keep
it's
forgetting.
rather interesting. Yes. I mentioned it on I did mention it on a podcast before. And also Miss Prim. They're both very casual, quick, entertaining, unusual reads.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that. The Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore was by Robin Sloan. And
Miss Prim.
thank you. What was the name of the book I just read? Was by, unfortunately, an author whose name I cannot pronounce, but at least the name of the
There's
book
probably
is
only
easy.
one Miss Prim.
Yeah.
So just type that into Google. Miss
Exactly.
Prim, author I can't pronounce.
There you go. It's called The Awakening of Miss Prim.
Okay.
She's a Spanish author, so the original book was translated into
Okay.
Yeah. But the other one I really like is The Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel.
Okay.
It is unexpected and very fun and a very easy read. So I highly recommend that one as well. Just unusual, you don't expect it, and I really like that. And then in general, I think if you would read a lot of good middle grade stories, like I would actually put your novel there, Matt.
Red Rex for
Yeah,
sure.
I would put Red Rex there.
I accept the label.
You accept. I would say, and YA, like a lot of that good stuff. I was thinking of Evangeline's Curio. I would put her
Curio.
book in that category as well.
That's true.
Like some like of the S.D. Smith books. I was even thinking of Elizabeth Googe's The Little White Horse. I was thinking of some Redwall. So Brian Jakes. Some of those are supposedly aimed at children, but also like really, really good.
Yeah.
And adults really, really like them as they ought.
Yeah.
So I actually recommend those ones too.
All right.
There you go.
Great. So listeners, now that I assume you're listening to this actually at the beach, so order these on your Kindle right away. Just start reading them. Have a great time.
Enjoy yourself.
Enjoy yourself.
Meanwhile, we'll be at our private beach
Yeah.
with our daiquiris and smooth sands.
My indoor beach with no sand and no salts in the water.
I'm just up on the cliff.
I'm at a hotel
Yeah,
pool.
Yes.
Oh.
No, hotel
No.
pools are too chlorine-y.
Yes. We have a
We all vacation in our own way. But anyway, thank you all. And as you all can probably tell, things are winding down at the Anselm Society Digital Pub. The fire's down to embers, the customers are trundling home, and you've decided to once and for all solve the mystery of what happened to your best friend all the way back in 1988. Once again, Believe to See is a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. If you have an extra 30 seconds or so right now, please rate and review the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.